Welcome to VLearn. Hello students, welcome to the lecture of System Analysis and Designing. In today's session we will cover System Development Life Cycle in detail. There are lots of phases in System Development Life Cycle, which is in short called as an SDLC. System Development Life Cycle has many phases like project identification and selection, project initiation and planning, analysis, logical design, physical design, testing, implementation, and finally maintenance. So today in today's session we will discuss each and every phase of the SDLC in detail, at minute level rather, I must say. Right? Let's explore project identification and selection. See, different phases of SDLC involves lots of work at the part of system analyst, which helps them to reduce the shortcomings in the proposed system or software. Basically, system analysis is done in such a way so that we have to identify, either we have to replace the existing system with the new system, or we have to make some sort of changes in the existing system so that these changes can become compatible with the existing needs and requirement of the system. Right? So when we develop a system or software, we have to choose one out of two options. Either we prepare the new system or we maintain the previous or old system. Now, either we are developing software or system. In all the way, we have to identify and select the requirement of the customer first. In the requirement analysis phase of SDLC, we find out, or we can say that we use different tools to collect facts and figure so that the requirements can be defined. The vision about the requirement should be clear. It should not have any question mark in the minds of system analysts. So requirement analysis is the most important phase in the entire SDLC. In this phase, requirement is captured by different tools, as I have already discussed. The first fact finding technique is interviewing. Yes, we need to interact with the customer at different point of time, at different levels, so that by interviewing or by putting some question in front of the customer, and the answers or feedback that we will receive or the system analyst will receive will help them to prepare a successful system. Right? So interviewing is a tool in the hands of the system analyst to clear the vision of the system. Sometime system analyst has to schedule different meetings. These meetings could be formal or informal. When we talk about the formal meetings, every formal meeting has defined agendas, some prerequisite in terms of participants who are supposed to be the part of this meeting. Meeting's date and time will be defined in a structured way and it will be communicated to all the participants of the meeting. Apart from this, a structured meeting also involves a facilitator which conducts the meeting in a successful way, because the basic goal of conducting a meeting between the developer and customer or any other passive person who is involved in the development of the software or system is to collect facts and figure, to collect that matrix which the customer is looking for, so that the proposed system can be developed in a successful way. So till time we have covered two approaches of collecting the data from the customer. The first one was interviewing and the second was meetings that could be formal or informal. So every formal meeting has defined agendas, defined participants, date and time of the meeting, even the place of the meeting is also defined. And one person is appointed as a facilitator of the meeting, so that the meeting can be conducted in a smooth way, and ultimately the goal of this meeting or the agenda of that meeting can be achieved. So formal meeting is another tool in the hands of system analyst. Next is questionnaires. By making use of some questionnaires, system analyst can find out the answers and feedback of many questions which are cropping in the minds of the analyst, and that help them to prepare a good system. Good means successful system. Next tools. So till time we have covered three approaches of collecting facts and figure from the customer: interviewing, structured meeting, questionnaires. Another is observation. Sometimes it is not possible to collect the entire data which is required for the system development by merely interviewing and formal meetings and questionnaire. We need some more data to understand the entire system concept. So in that situation, observation is another important tool in the hands of system analyst. By making use of this tool, most of the facts and figure can be verified. So observation, this observation is done at the customer site where the proposed system is to be imposed, right? Another fact finding techniques is by means of softwares. Some calculated values comes out, right? So all these exercise is being done in the project identification and selection phase of SDLC. And the ultimate goal of this phase is to clear the vision, to clear the requirements and needs of the customer, what they are looking for, and what we are about to prepare. Apart from this, when all these facts and figures are being collected, all these figures are input in a structured document called as a SRS. That is Software Requirement Specification Document. Whatever matrix has been collected after a lot of discussion with the client, customer, or any other passive party, along with the experience of the analyst, all these things are input in SRS. Then again a scheduled meeting is conducted in which all the key persons who are passively or directly involved in the work, in the software development lifecycle work, are involved. And this SRS document or System Software Requirement Specification document is being circulated among all the key persons. so that they can verify at their own end that whatever commitment we are about to take on regarding the development of the system or software, it is achievable or not, it is realistic or not. So panel of expert people, they verify the facts and figure at their own end before actually taking the commitment from the customer part. Next is, now what about the role of this particular meeting which is conducted between the key persons? This meeting will verify basically either we have to take on this project or not. During the discussion, feasibility report also plays a very prominent role. Now let's explore what about feasibility report. Feasibility report is being generated after the analysis of different parameters like cost, quality, time, psychology, politics, social, and many more parameters. And these feasibility reports parameter help the other key person to take on the decision. If the proposed software verifies the cost constraint, or whatever system we are about to develop that is good in terms of in monetary terms or in terms of benefit, profit and loss, means financial aspect is being verified first. Next is social. Social aspect of the feasibility report verifies that proposed software system should not have any negative impact on the society. Political, no political pressure or issues can affect the development of the software. Psychology. Psychological factor should also be considered during the development of the software, because ultimately this software system is to be used by the human being, and every human being is being affected by the psychology of a particular software or intentions of a particular software. So whenever we are about to develop any software system, it should not have any negative impact on the psychology of a person, irrespective of the fact that the software is developed for kids, ladies, boys, girls and many more things. No. As a whole, we have to consider the psychological impact onto the human being. Technical, yes. Technical aspect also plays a very important role, because the proposed system should verify all the technical points with respect to the system. Quality, system analyst cannot compromise on quality. And the next one is cost. Yes, whatever work we are doing, we are doing because of the monetary gains for the organization. And the most important one is time. Time means the proposed system should be ready to deliver to the customer within the stipulated time period, right? So all these parameters of the feasibility study helps in the generation of feasibility report, and this feasibility reports goes into the hands of all the key person, all the stakeholders who are passively or actively involved in the entire software development work or system development work. Any questions so far? Please don't get confused with the word system development or software development. Let me clear this point also. in front of the student it is not possible for us to prepare a system, but we need to get into the shoes of the system analyst so that they can understand how to develop a particular system. But in lecture terms we cannot make you understand that what exactly is the system development. So to make you understand what is system development, we take the example of software development. So wherever I am using the word system development, you can consider that you are developing a software. So software development is an example of system development. Please don't get confused with these two terms, right? Although software development is different, system development is different, but the approach of developing the system or software are same. But these are two different aspects. So in this scenario, we are taking system development, we are taking software development as a system development example. Right? Now, we are coming back to our topic that after feasibility study, a feasibility report is generated. And this feasibility report goes into the hands of all the persons who are directly or indirectly involved in the work of system development life cycle. Till date and time, it is not confirmed that either the proposed system will be prepared by the group of people or not. Still this decision is pending with the other key person. So all these exercises is being done under the requirement engineering. All the requirement of the customers are put into the SRS, and this SRS is involving all the key parameters. Now SRS is combined with feasibility report so that the decision can be taken up, that is, we need to develop the system or software or not, right? So now two reports are ready with us, SRS and feasibility report. Again a group of panel is ready with us, involving requirement engineer, analyst, designer, coder, tester, maintenance people, other stakeholder also who has to take on the decision, right? All these key persons have to take on the decision and give the judgment, either we have to develop the software or not. So all these two reports, SRS and feasibility report, are being analyzed at each and every level. It means feasibility report is responsible for generating the signal either we have to develop this software or system or not. If the answer of feasibility report is no, it means proposed system does not conforms to the time constraint or quality parameter, or cost is not so good so that we are interested in developing this software. It means SDLC is over there. No need to proceed further. Right? But if the answer of the feasibility report says that please go ahead, we can conform to the time constraint of this particular software, we can conform to the quality, we can conform to the cost, all the things are achievable, we are ready to accept this particular project. So in that case, we will move towards the next phase of the SDLC, that is project initiation and planning. Right? It means now we are ready to accept this challenge of developing the software or system. Now let's start working on it. If we are ready to do work, it means we have to plan each and everything. Now let's talk about the planning. As you know it very well, that planning is the backbone of the entire software development life cycle. If planning is there, then all the things can be managed easily. And a fully fledged plan involves the answer of two questions. If we are saying that we have developed a plan for the system development life cycle of a particular project, it means we have the answer of these two questions. The first one is what we are supposed to do and how we are supposed to do. Planning gives any planning with respect to any context. It gives the answer of these two questions. What you are supposed to do and how you are supposed to do. Right? And again, planning is done to ensure the scarcity of resources. हम प्लान इसलिए करके चलते हैं ताकि जो हमारे लिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज है that can be utilized in an efficient and productive way, right? And when we talk about the designing is a part of planning, entire planning. So planning involves designing, and designing involves development of ER diagram, development of database, development of tables, development of DFDs, flow chart, process logic. All the paperwork comes under the category of designing. In the last session, we have covered how to prepare the ER diagram, how get prepared DFD. Now you are familiar with these terms. So during the designing phase of the SDLC, what we need to do, we have to prepare the paperwork of the entire SDLC, so that the things can be corrected at the paper first. And if the things are correct at the paper level, it means that can be further implemented in terms of coding. Right? So, designing is again said to be as a backbone of the software development or system development. If designing is okay, proposed system will be developed in an okay way. And if there are some sort of shortcomings or limitation has been occurred at the designing level, that these shortcomings or limitation will crop up in near future in the form of defects. Defects arise only if there is some sort of shortcomings at the designing part. Please do remember it. Right? So we have to ensure that whatever design we are about to prepare, it should be correct at all levels. So firstly, we are about to prepare ER diagram, that is entity relationship diagram. Let's take a quick revision tour that we have covered in the last session. Entity relationship diagram reflects that how many entities are involved in the work and how they are related with each other. We have covered different sort of relationship also, like one-to-one relationship, one-to-many relationship and many-to-one relationship, like this. Do you remember? I hope you remember it. And when you are ready with the ER diagram, you can create tables for the database from these ER diagram, because ER diagram completely reflects the name of the table as well as the type of fields or attribute. So by collecting the entity and the attributes of the ER diagram, we can generate the database or tables. And if the tables are ready, then it can be moved to the corresponding database. Right? Next is DFD, as you are aware of it, data flow diagram. It basically reflects the dynamic view of the data, that how your data in the entire system is moving from one place to another place. Right? So again, DFD and ER diagram are the graphical notation which is used in the system development to graphically project different parameters of the system. It reflects the process part also, sub-process part also, right? So this ER diagram, DFD, we have already covered in the previous session. So I hope this revision tool will really help you to focus on this part. Next is, when your design phase is ready with DFD, ER diagram, flowchart, process logic, tables, database, etc., etc., it means theoretically your logical design is prepared. Now you have to focus on the business aspect of the system. And business, when we talk about the business aspect, it means long-term benefit. It doesn't matter that always the long-term benefits involve the monetary benefits. Yes, monetary is the important aspect of the business, but it's not necessary always that we get the benefit or we capture the benefits only in monetary terms. Sometimes a brand is being developed and it takes lots of years. Next is physical design. So whatever file structure we have created in our discussion, whatever database we have discussed, and the language we are working with, and here we are languages. When we talk about the languages, it means we are talking about computer languages like C, C++, VB.NET, C#, assembly, COBOL, Logo, and many more computer languages. Apart from this, physical design involves technology, tools that is to be used, right? So all these collectively give rise to the physical design. So let's again go back to the initial phases of the SDLC so that we can have a quick revision tour that what we have covered till time. So the phases of SDLC involves project identification and selection, in which we get prepared the SRS and feasibility report so that we can verify either we have to develop this particular software or system or not. If it is decided that we have to do it, it means now this project has to be initiated. Not only initiated, rather it should be planned. And planning involves extensive analysis. This analysis gives rise to the logical and physical design in terms of business aspect, in terms of file structure, database, languages, tools and techniques. Right? Now let's explore testing. Testing means quality of the software or system, because testing ensures quality. Extensive testing also involves 100% error-free system or software. So what is testing? Testing is what basically it's involved lots of activities, and these activities basically ensures the error-free software or system. Now let's explore what different types of testing techniques are there, how they are helpful in developing the software or system, right? Now let's discuss What exactly is testing? So testing is an activity in which a system or component is executed under specified condition. The results are observed and recorded, and apart from this an evaluation is also made onto some aspect of the system or component. So testing is what basically it's a process of executing with the intent of finding an error. अगर आप टेस्टिंग करेंगे और इस इंटेंशन से करेंगे that you have to definitely find an error, then definitely you will find a error. So always a testing should be done with this intention that you need to find an error. Again, a good test case is one that has high probability of finding an as yet undiscovered error. जो एरर अभी तक किसी ने निकाला ही नहीं है, अगर आप ये सोच के चलते हैं कि मुझे वो एरर निकालना है जो अभी तक किसी ने डिस्कवर नहीं किया, एंड आई वांट बी द फर्स्ट पर्सन टू डिस्कवर सच एन एरर, सो इन दैट केस अगेन you have to prepare a good test case. A successful test is one that uncovers as an yet undiscovered error. और अगर आपको ऐसे टेस्टिंग करते समय आपने एक ऐसा एरर फाइंड आउट कर लिया है जो अभी तक किसी ने डिस्कवर किया ही नहीं था, तो यू हैव कंडक्टेड अ सक्सेसफुल टेस्ट, राइट? सो अगेन टेस्टिंग इज सच ए एक्टिविटी जो आप किसी स्पेसिफाइड कंडीशन को चेक करने के लिए करते हैं. We need to follow certain test case principles because testing plays a very important role in the entire software development life cycle. The quality of a software is based on to the testing part only. If the testing is done in an honest and proficient way, then you can ensure the quality of a particular software or system, right? Again, whatever is your testing plan, all tests should be traceable to the customer requirement. आप जब सिस्टम डेवलप करना है, you have already developed the SRS, that is software requirement specification document, and your testing should trace with respect to the SRS because SRS involve all the customer requirement. So the test should be planned in advance. Next principle focus on that whatever testing you are about to do on the software or system, it should be planned earlier. This is another important test case principle. Next is Pareto principle. Your test should follow the Pareto principle. It means to confirm the output of 80%, you have to test only 20% of the data. It means if there are thousands lines of code and you have checked or tested 200 lines of code out of 1000, it means if that 200 lines of codes verify or ensures the quality of a software, it means remaining 800 lines or 80% of the code will also ensure the accuracy of the data, right? So Pareto principle focus on 20:80% ratio. It means to test the data of 80%, you have to ensure the accuracy on 20% of the data. Next test principle is the test should begin from individual component and then progress towards testing the entire system. पूरे सिस्टम को टेस्ट करने के लिए हम पार्ट बाय पार्ट, यूनिट बाय यूनिट, कंपोनेंट्स बाय कंपोनेंट मूव करेंगे, इंडिविजुअल कंपोनेंट को वेरीफाई करेंगे, एंड देन एट लास्ट वी विल कंफर्म टू द एंटायर सिस्टम. इट मीन्स टेस्टिंग शुड बी डन इन ए फेज्ड वे. इट शुड नॉट बी डन इन एन एंटायर वे और होलिस्टिक वे. इट शुड बी डन इन ए पार्ट बाय पार्ट बेसिस. Next test principle is the most important principle. The test should be conducted by an independent third party to result in an effective testing. Yes, it is true. If customer and developer are involved in the testing part, then they will not project a healthy view. Always testing should be done by a third party so that effectiveness of the testing can be generated. Right? Another type of testing is black box testing, which informs or which requires input in some form, rather I must say in terms of requirement, which is ultimately quoted in SRS. So input goes in the form of requirements, events, so that these things can be verified under testing and a fully fledged software, quality software is coming out as an output. Black box testing is another software testing method or system method that deals with the functional requirement of the software. Black box testing is also known as a behavioral testing because most of the time, or rather I must use this matrix, that 80% of the problems of the software system is resolved at behavioral level or at black box testing level. So black box testing is also known as a behavioral testing and is a complementary approach that is likely to uncover a different class of errors than white box method. If you really want to do testing, you need to prepare the test cases also. These test cases are derived from the formal specification of the system. Again, test case selection can be done without any reference to the program design or code. It doesn't matter what the code or design is. Right? So test case is to be selected for doing black box testing. And only test that verifies the functionality and features of the program, that should be included into the black box testing. Internal operation is not the part of black box testing. Right? It tests only the functionality and feature of the program. And when we talk about the functionality, suppose we are talking about the tally software. That tally software has the functionality to create companies, and what other features are being supported in the tally software, that are being checked during the black box testing. Right? Next approach is graph based testing method, equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis testing. These are the basically testing that we apply onto the software part. You should be aware of these terms. Another important terms with respect to the system testing is white box testing. Here you can have a look at how this guy is taking lens and checking each and everything. It means white box testing involves the checking of each and every lines of code at minute level, at operational level. Each and every thing is being analyzed in detail part so that the things can be improved or smooth in system. White box testing again is looking for input, and that input goes into the application and an output is generated. There are different methods of white box testing also. Coverage based testing, cyclometric complexity, mutation testing. When there are certain change in the testing, that certain changes are reflected by means of mutation testing. You can have a view that these testing are basically extensively used in the software part. Cyclomatic complexity, in which the entire path, many branches of the decision construct statement, each and everything is covered. Control flow graph basically describes the sequence in which different instructions of a program get executed. Right? Control flow graph reflects a notation which is helpful in understanding that how the system is moving. If we have to represent the sequence, we can use the first notation. If some sort of decision is to be carried out in terms of if and else, then this sort of notation is used. Sometimes there are certain things that need to be, repeat again and again. And sometimes case construct, which involves the multiple choices, but we have to choose only one choice at a time. That can also be reflected with the help of control flow graph. You can have a view that how testing activities is playing a very important role in the entire software development life cycle. Here comes requirement analysis, that is, testing should begin in the requirement phase of the software development life cycle. Yes, as a sequence we have seen that testing comes at 5th level. But the phases of SDLC involve testing activities from the very beginning. That is, from the requirement phase of the software development life cycle. Now, during the design phase, testers work with the developer. They have a discussion on different aspects of the design in terms of either these designs are testable, under what conditions, and what should the tester do in that particular situation. So this design analysis involved a thorough discussion between the tester and developers. Next testing activity is test planning, that is, plan of testing. Apart from this, testers needs to follow a particular long-term planning also, which is called as a test strategy. This strategy reflects the mindset of the developer or tester in terms of testing. Next phase of the testing activities involve test development, that is, test procedures, test scenario, test cases, test script to be used in testing software. Right? Test procedure focus on to the process part of the testing. Test scenario will reflect the outcome of one testing, that what scenario will be created if following input will be entered. And test case ensures the list of items to be tested in a test plan. Right? Any questions so far? Next is test execution. After getting prepared the test procedure, test script, test cases and test scenarios, the next phase focus on to the execution of these test procedures that are based on to the plan and test, and finally this test executions report any errors if found in the development of the team. अगर डेवलपमेंट टीम को कोई एरर्स मिलते हैं during execution of a particular software or system, so that errors are acknowledged or highlighted in test execution plan. And later on, once the testing is completed, testers generate the metrics and make a final report on their test effort and whether or not the software test is ready or for release. So all this exercise comes under the test reporting. That it will highlight all the captured errors that are found by the development team. And again, if you find out some sort of errors, then these errors will be rectified. It will be fixed by the development team. And again, these errors are tested and ensured either they have been rectified or not. So this work is done under the retesting, the defect phase of testing. So testing plays a very, very important role in the entire SDLC, because testing effort ensures the quality of the software basically. Right? Now let's explore different levels of testing. You can have a view on this part. That mainly software goes through 3 levels of testing. Unit testing, that is part by part testing or component level testing. Integration testing, which is the collection of the individual testing. Next is system testing, and this system testing ensures either we have to develop a new system or we have to replace the old one. When we talk about the system testing, it ensures the holistic testing. We are considering the system as a whole. So if unit testing is okay, it doesn't mean that the integration testing will be okay, and vice versa is also true. That is, if integration testing is okay, it doesn't mean that the unit testing will be okay. And above all, system and testing ensure the proper coordination between different components of the system. Because if all the components are working properly, there is a proper message passing between the component of the system, then it will ensure the quality of the system also. Right? Let's explore a little bit about the system testing. This is the most popular question. System testing is done by a professional testing agent on the completed software product before it is introduced to the market. So system testing falls within the scope of black box testing, and as such should require no knowledge of the inner design of the code or logic. So in system testing, basically the entire system can be tested as a whole against the SRS, that is software requirement specification document. There are rules that describe the functionality that the vendor and a customer have agreed upon. Right? Again, when we are talking about the software testing, next phase, which involves the rectification and identification of the error, is called as a debugging, which ensures the successful preparation of a software or system, in which we not only identify the cause, rather we take corresponding action to address that problem so that a bug can be fixed. Right? So when a test case uncovers an error, debugging is the process that results in the removal of the error. The debugging process begins with the execution of a test case. The debugging process attempts to match symptoms with cause, so thereby leading to the error correction. There are 2 alternatives outcome of the debugging. The cause will be found and necessary actions such as correction or removal will be taken, and the cause will not be found. Second problem is the dangerous problem, because once you identify the problem, then the things can be corrected. But if you haven't identified any sort of cause, then it will become very difficult to understand the thing. Right? Now let's move to the further phase of the SDLC, that is the implementation. Now you have learned that how testing impacts the entire SDLC, how it is powerful, how it is playing a prominent role in the entire SDLC. Now let's consider that the SDLC has been over at the testing part. Now what about implementation? After testing, your software is ready to be implemented. Now you ensure by implementing all functionalities before it is delivered to the customer. And at last we are moving towards the maintenance phase. Maintenance phase plays a very important role in the SDLC. Here comes the training. Sometimes what happens, you have developed a system, you have applied that system at the customer site also, but still the customer is not ready to fully fledge this particular developed system. So in that particular situation, as a developer, we need to provide some sort of support to the customer so that they can use this system in a fully fledged way. So for the support of the software, some sort of guidelines, documents, manuals are prepared so that by making use of these manuals, help guides or procedure documents, client or customer can fully utilize the features of system. And apart from this, maintenance phase also involves the training of the manpower. Even after providing the manuals, documents, procedure document and help guide, still our client site is not able to, fully utilize the system. So in that particular situation, one of the key person of the developing team will give training at the customer site so that they can fully utilize the feature of the developed software or system. So all these activities also comes under the maintenance phase, right? So with this, we are about to finish this system development lifecycle phase. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Thank you.